Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome to part 3, so let's go ahead and get started. I need to talk less.
We can do it for our satisfaction, but there will be no solution. I don't want to do this for my satisfaction. I want to see that there is a solution somewhere.
Sure. I think people get away from this because they can today. But a point will come where it will not be a choice anymore. Let's not wait until then. Let's each one of us
when
take
that point comes, turning around is not going to be easy. It is going to be at the cost of millions and millions of lives, not just human lives. There are more precious lives on this planet than human lives. Why I'm saying this is, today the Living Earth statistics says, if all the insects on this planet die, this planet has little more than 20 years to… the life on this planet has only little more than 20 years. Everything will disappear. If the worms on this planet die tomorrow morning, all of them, planet has only 8 years, the life upon this planet has only 8 years left. But if you and me disappear, planet will flourish. So I am saying, in our mind, in human mind, we may be thinking the life upon this planet is human-centric, but life upon this planet is not human-centric. In natural terms, the worms and insects and the birds and the animals are far more important than human beings. Because we as human beings have become the controlling power, we are beginning to think that we are the most important life. So this mindset has to change. We need to recognize every life as life. For this, spiritual movements taking on ecological concerns becomes vital, because the essence of spiritual process is just this, seeing life as life, not seeing you as you and me as me, just seeing this… all this as just manifestation of life. So the reason why spiritual process is ultimately the only solution for ecological disaster that is looming upon us is, unless humanity begins to recognize life as life, there is no solution. Right now, all CSRs and ecological solutions are oriented towards making human life a little better. Let us use recycled paper. That's not the point. If you want to save ecology, the bioactivity on the planet has to rise. Now bioactivity is not happening in your intestine, so you're drinking it out of a bottle, some biological stuff, some bacteria you're drinking. If you drank any water from any place in the local pool, you would get enough bacteria. But you're buying that and drinking that now. So, laws are needed. Laws will not come unless strong ecological movements, responsible movements, which are oriented towards solutions, not to beat somebody down.
So I was thinking about this before this recording. My solutions are very slow because they're in the middle of the ground. They don't allow people to suffer too much, but because of that, they don't allow for harsh changes right away. Again, the middle of the road kind of thing, whatever that may be. He wants changes now, and changes now will affect a lot. It's like when you have a band-aid or a tape on your arm and you slowly pull. It's not as painful, but it's a very slow, tedious pull, versus if you yank it off and then you end up losing a lot of hair or maybe even some skin. It'll be quite painful, but it'll be immediate, and there could be some residual pain, but you no longer have to continue to pull that. So it's kind of like that is the solution. I think he's talking about like just basically making the solution happen now. And you know, I don't know what the right answer could be. Slow changes could be detrimental, just because while maybe few people suffer, it may come to a point where it's too late to make the change. Drastic change of the changes happening may make a lot of people die or suffer, but overall, majority the entire planet benefits because of the immediate change of that. And then all of a sudden, for some odd reason, I thought of Thanos at this point. Let's see.
Unless…
So losses are needed. Losses will not come unless a strong ecological movement.
Responsible movement.
So, like Thanos said whenever he was talking about his planets, like, a I wasn't strong enough to, I guess, push his vision through. I don't know why I thought of the Thanos moment, but Thanos was saying, like, you know, it takes a strong mind or strong will to get something done. I forget what the exact quote is, but basically saying that it takes a strong person to get things done. That's what he's saying there. Are you really Thanos? Nah, but it's very odd. It was kind of weird. I don't know why I thought of that.
Which are oriented towards solutions, not to beat somebody down. Always movements have an enemy. I am saying there is no enemy here except ourselves. We are the enemy. Movements which come from this level of consciousness that we are the enemy, there is no other enemy sticking out somewhere there. We are the enemies. With this, if we develop large movements, which are also action-oriented, because just movement on the street is not going to help. It must be action-oriented to gain respectability in the world. At the same time, it's a large-scale movement. Only then we can change the laws. But right now the problem is, from nation to nation, okay, I am willing to change the law and restrict my country, but what about you? You're not willing to do, you want to benefit from my laws. Now nobody is going to do it. Who is to bell the cat is the whole problem. Because internationally there is no one body which can enforce. At one time we were building United Nations to a point where if something really needs to be done in the world, United Nations can say so. But that has been lost. In the last 10-15 years, that's been completely lost. And there is no one body. Everybody is talking about self-interest as nations. If nations talk of self-interest, why should the individual talk of self-interest?
I agree with the self-interest portion in terms of the countries should be self-interest. Again, like how I said, I think in the first part that my beliefs that apply to the individual can expand out into as far as it needs to be. So for example, you need to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. So that's a self-interest thing. But I guess that the thing is going too far where you're just self-interest all the time, and once you get to a good point, you're still just self-interest. My whole idea is self-interest until you get to a good point, until you can help other people. So make sure that your country or your person is good before you start helping other people, because if you can't help yourself, you can't help anyone else. If you can't help your country, you can't help anyone else. So that's what I was talking about, I think, in the first video, that my belief on the individual can expand out into larger organizations, countries, groups of people. Now, I don't know if it all applies, but I think so far it has. And I have yet to test them all out, but you get my point. So basically, like, as the individual, treat and take care of yourself first before you treat and take care of someone else. Country, self-interest in terms of treat and take care of your country first, and then once you're good, help and treat other countries. America just, I mean, I know that America sends out a lot of money to a lot of countries and it still has issues at home. I'm not saying that we should stop, but I don't know how in the world you fix the country. I don't think it's not the money though. It's just, I don't think it's the money. It's the culture probably. Again, what part of the culture? There's just a lot of things, a lot of self-centered stuff. Again, we're at the point where it's not necessarily self-interest. It is self-interest to the worst degree. Now, I'm hoping that's in the minority. It seems like it's growing though.
They will also talk of self-interest. And now, who should bell the cat is not there yet. To determine this, the larger thing is, it must be a worldwide movement.
United planet or something.
Planet is anyway united, it's only human beings.
We need to unite with them. Like nations aren't, yeah, sure.
So I'm saying the movement should learn to connect and make an international movement, that there must be so much pressure on the governments that they will change the laws. All the laws that need to be changed will not change in one day. It's a continuous work in our lifetime. If we change enough laws which are destroying environment at a very rapid pace, whatever activity is destroying it at the highest pace. Right now, 50,000 trees in… in 3 days. In 3 days. This one thing we can put a law, isn't it? So that these 5 million trees that we plant don't go waste in 3 days' time. We can make a law. to at least stop this. We can't stop the generator from roaring right now, it has to roar. But we can make this law. Like this, if we plan in 25 years, these are the laws we will bring. If we formulate these are the laws we need to bring in the next 25 years, step by step, so that it doesn't hurt us too quickly. Too much of a drastic change if you do, people will not take it. Step by step if it changes, if they understand, if you give them enough time to understand why such a change has been made and bring the next one and the next one.
But the problem, there are two problems for me. The population, we are 7 billion today in the earth. 2 centuries ago we were just 1 billion. And the second problem is the consummation, because
without reducing human population, there's no solution.
Sorry?
Without reducing human population, there's no solution. Whatever you do, they'll gobble it up. See, instead of trying to reduce human aspirations, it is better to reduce human population. It's a much simpler thing to do. So we were planning in the villages that in the villages we want to take a volunteer kind of thing, a oath, that this year in our village it'll be a no conception year. No conception. Just enjoy your honeymoon, don't make babies.
That's gonna be tough.
But all these things will take a lot of effort. And if we don't control the population, whatever you do, it will go waste. Because the estimated population in 2050 is 9.5 billion. At 9.5 billion, all of us will have to live at 40% less resource than we are right now enjoying. When I say resource, I'm not talking about gold, diamonds, oil, stuff. I'm talking about water, food and air to breathe. 40% less resource we will have to say. That's why I said we want to give a legacy of disaster for our children. That's where we are. So this is not going to change simply because of small actions, and people are trying to fulfill themselves with little bit of action. I did this, I planted 10 trees, I did this, whatever. I'm saying even if I plant 10 million trees or 100 million trees, it is not something to be proud of or to be… think my life is fulfilled. No, because that is still not the solution. 100 million trees, if I plant, they will pull it down in 33 days. So it doesn't make any sense in some way, but still we have to plant, we can't give it up. We have to plant, we have to work for the solution. But it is silly to believe to create a small solution for a huge problem and think it is a solution is a silly way to exist. What we are doing, 114 million trees, is not a big solution. It is a small solution. It is like you're sending an ant to fight an elephant. It's a silly way to approach a problem.
Yeah, like sending a mouse to fight an elephant. Nah, just joking. It's kind of weird. I've seen Mythbusters, and apparently elephants are afraid of mouse, which is kind of weird, but…
But at least an ant is going. We believe the brave ant will inspire. So the solution is not near, unless expecting people will change by themselves. No, laws have to be made, strict laws have to be made, which take ecological concerns into thing. And above all, the culture of economics. Right now, the whole world is driven by economics.
I think earlier when I was making a Thanos comment, I think he said… I thought he said loss, L-O-S-S, but I think he might have said laws, L-A-W-S. Well, nonetheless, I will stick with that comment. Because by making laws, you will, especially harsh laws and has such an immediate impact, will happen with some losses, for sure.
The idea of economics right now, our idea of well-being itself, in this country just about 30 years ago, the idea of well-being was not just economics. In fact, even now in Tamil Nadu, if you see, if you go to a function and see a very rich man and a poor man, they will be wearing the same type of clothes. No, not by any law. Just like that, by social norm, you will see they're all dressed the same way. Same white clothes, same shirt, same dhoti, That's the same thing. Only thing is, he may come in a Mercedes Benz, this guy may come in a bullock cart, but they'll be wearing the same clothes and they'll sit together. That culture is good because your sense of well-being, even socially, is not determined by the wealth that you have. Money does not decide well-being. Well-being is determined by various other aspects of your life. So to bring that back is what spiritual movements are striving, because if we don't bring that back, there is no solution. If our idea of economics is only more and more, we have only one planet. The Living Earth statistics says, if every citizen upon this planet has to have as much as an average American citizen has, we need 4.5 planets, but we still have only one. Another one they have cited 24 light years away. It's not too far, just 24, okay? But still we don't have another 2.5 planets. So the problem is not small, but another way, some people in a resigned way, they say, it's okay, nature will correct it. Yes, for sure it'll correct it.
Yeah, it'll correct it, all right. I mean, it will end us all, or it will end us all if we don't do anything right. We have to force nature to favor us. In a sense, I'm not saying like we have to be disastrous, but I'm saying we need to be productive with nature so that that we can ensure nature will provide for us. But if we destroy nature, it will not be able to provide for us, and then it will destroy us because the lack thereof of it, and then eventually nature will come and reclaim its throne. And we will no longer be sitting on that throne.
And the correction will be reducing human populations. And whenever human populations are reduced, you don't see it as a solution, you see it as a disaster, isn't it? When nature reduces human population, do you see it as a solution or do you see it as a disaster?
Thanos!
It is a disaster, isn't it? A natural disaster means Mother Earth is not even supposed to flex her muscles. She's not even allowed to stretch her hands or legs. If she does something, 100,000 people will die, because human beings are just everywhere where they're not supposed to be. She cannot even sneeze. If a volcano happens, right there they've built towns around the volcano, around a live volcano.
That's crazy.
Why the hell are they living there?
That is crazy.
I'm saying we are too many. We are wonderful, but we are too many.
And I'm wondering, like, if we can start colonizing other worlds and stuff to reduce the population, and then we'll have those problems in those worlds too, along with resource problems as well, just in case those worlds can't grow or sustain us naturally. I don't know. Again, I mean, he ain't wrong about the I guess the population issue. You know, as we grow, we consume more, and when we consume more, they need to produce more, and when they produce more, they need more resources to produce more of that stuff.
We need to reduce our wonderfulness. By 2050, if all the countries in the world take this up, that they will aim to reduce their populations. If we do this, that itself is a great solution. Technologies are continuing to refine themselves. The amount of power we are consuming, let's say to light up this place, is almost 1/10 of what we would have consumed 15 years ago. So technologies are improving, our consumption of power is coming down. If we aim at reducing the human population, which is very much achievable, in 40 years' time, you can bring down the human population at least by 25%, if only the necessary laws are done. The Chinese have done it.
Yeah, I was about to make that comment. The Chinese has done it. I think they removed it though, so… I mean, that solution though, it sounds so harsh, but it ain't. He ain't lying though. It sounds so harsh, but he ain't lying.
Everybody comments about it. They think making politics out of it is a great solution. But one of the biggest impediments to bring such laws, to enforce it, to make sure human populations come down, is the religions of the world.
The religions of the world? Religions of the world say be fruitful and multiply. But I thought of something else. Like, what happens if you have twins? What do you do then? That's a kind of terrible, honestly. And what happens if you accidentally get pregnant because something stopped working? Not because you intentionally did, but just something stopped working, for example, and you already have one child. And if your belief is the fact that all human life is sacred, I mean, that's the kind of that's the tough questions, you know. I wonder what Sadhguru would say or answer to that.
They want more numbers for their congregations.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Their problem is, their whatever morning congregations are not full. People have been partying hard the previous night, so early morning they don't turn up at the congregation. So they are disturbed, they want to produce more people and they want to produce more deprived people. Because those who cannot afford to party in the night will get up early in the morning and come to the congregation. So the religions of the world has to be controlled. The laws must control them. They have no business to talk about things for which they have no solutions. Yes, they must restrain themselves to whatever their expertise is.
That's kind of harsh to say, considering, at least from my history class, America was kind of founded because of not overpopulation, but persecution from like Catholic or Christians or something like that in Europe. A lot of people fled to the United States because their religion was being persecuted, or you know, they were going to jail because of their religion, or because they what else? Well, just it was the religion that wasn't followed by the major countries, so they were being thrown in jail for that. So they instead fled to the United States, and the forefathers found this country under the separation of church and state because of what happened in England, or yeah, what happened in England. And that's the reason one of the laws is that you need to separate church and state. You cannot base your laws based on religion. But then again, I guess it's just laws imposing their vision on religion, which is still, I don't think it's definitely not going to look good for sure. I don't know.
They shouldn't be talking about other things.
Sorry, pausing it again because I just thought of this. A lot of people, certain groups of people in the United States want government out of the bedroom, out of their lives in a sense. Because, you know, again, I don't necessarily disagree with that. You know, the government shouldn't be telling you what to do every day. It's like, you need to eat 3 meals a day, you need to eat now, and stop. You're done eating, you know. There's a bit of an extreme over-governance of people. This develops, I believe, a group of people who become too dependent, who can't think for themselves because the government has to tell them everything, so they lose their own train of thought, they lose their own ability to think for themselves. Having too many laws or too many controlling governments can be detrimental to the individual. But again, I understand I'm the middle kind of guy, which is basically means nothing. But I understand the reason why we have laws. But it's a balance. It's always a balance to find a perfect amount of laws versus freedom. Absolute freedom will become absolute anarchy. Absolute laws become absolute dictatorship. So somewhere in the middle is the perfect balance. Where's the middle? I don't know.
Isn't it? We need a law. People won't shut up. You need to shut them up means then you need a law for that also.
Oof. Not too many laws now.
So, human numbers are the biggest problem. And if you look at it that way, it's a simple arithmetic problem. You have to subtract, you should multiply.
You mean divide?
Is it so difficult to get this? One thing is by awareness, another thing is by making the necessary laws. We have to bring down human population, otherwise there's no other way. In India, in 1947, how much potable water an Indian citizen had per capita, today we have only 20% of that. By 2025, we will have only 7% of that. You understand?
That's pretty close.
Right now you're drinking water from the bottle. See, that's written Sirvani. You know what Sirvani means? Sirvani is a water supply, the river for us. Now it's coming in a bottle. By 2025, in Chennai and Mumbai, you will be having bath with a bottle. Your morning bath will be with a single bottle. It will not be with buckets of water. These are not some doomsayer's predictions. These are realistic calculations. It's heading that way rapidly. These are facts. These are not, made up in your head. So, laws, if laws have to come, first thing is the businesses have to ease the throttle a bit on the lawmakers. They shouldn't be constantly looking at profit orientation. They need to look at, if businesses have to exist, people have to live, and if people have to live, ecology has to be good. All this looks like empty philosophy which is anyway not going to be any solution. So the immediate solution is, he is planting 50 million trees. At least we should get them to do that, many of them, the corporates who have the necessary money to do it. And as you said, we must involve the local people in making it happen. They must see this is not man versus animal, man versus ape, all kinds of movements are coming up. We need to understand, you are an ape without a tail. There is no man versus ape. The planet is for all of us and we cannot exist here by ourselves. Our existence here is not because of our economic activity, because of the natural process that's happening that we are living here, not because of economic activity. Right now we are made to believe it is because of the percentages of growth that's happening in this country you will live well. No. We will live well here if everything is green, beautiful, water is flowing, air is pure, we will live well here. This idea has to go into every human being's mind, into every citizen's mind, into every child's mind. And we should not have so many youth in this country. What it means is we've been breeding. If we are very proud to say we have the largest number of youth, yes, we have them, we have to train them and make sure that they build a better world tomorrow. That's a different thing. But there's nothing to be proud of. We should not continue to think we must always have lots of young people. Lots of young people means they've been freshly born, isn't it?
And more will come soon.
Yes. So it's very important that we get these things in the right perspective. I have seen in business meetings, very responsible business people openly saying, we have the youngest population. So I asked them, what happened to the old people? They said, what about the old people? No, we have the youngest population. I said, no, what happened to the old people? Nobody gets old in this country. That's what it means. That's not an accolade that you wear around you.
I just thought of this again, I'm sorry, it goes back to the Chinese and what they've done. At least as far as I've heard, should I say, and going to say what he was talking about, the Chinese, where they had the one-child law. The terrible things that was done because of that, I wonder what Sadhguru would say about this one, because I've heard that when the Chinese people were pregnant, they find out the sex of the baby, and if it's female, they would terminate the pregnancy because they could only have one child. Because I believe, again, this is something I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but they would terminate a female pregnancy but keep a male pregnancy because the male has ways of making money over there or something like that. I wonder what he would think about that. Would he go against abortion? But abortion is a way to keep the population down. It's contradictory there. But at the same time, it would kind of skew the demographic of China to have a lot of more males, and females are much more rare. They become more valuable because there's so few of them. Kind of like in Russia after World War II, 7 million, or I don't know how many, it's like a lot of Russians have died during World War II trying to protect the country. And there was a skewed of, there was a lot more females than males over there. I remember watching that World War II documentary where how many people have died in certain things. It's really crazy. And I read one of the comments saying Russia during that time frame was considered the fatherless time, or the fatherless children, I believe, which is it's really sad. I didn't even know that's what they called it over there. That is pretty dang crazy.
So it is very important that we get these things in the right perspective. So responsible people need to be made to understand. When I look at very highly placed people, they have no clue about any ecological, even the simple statistics that are around, that's available to everybody, which is every day in the newspaper, you will see people holding very responsible positions are not even conscious about it, just about everywhere in the world. It's shocking that lawmakers and others and business people, many of them have never even bothered to acquaint themselves because they're busy with something else. It's very important that it sinks into everybody. So awareness campaigns are as important as action-oriented campaigns. Action seems to be a solution, but action is not a solution because the reverse action that's happening, 50 million trees, he plants in 5 years, I will take another 10 years to make them grow for him, and somebody will remove it in 3 days. See, I'm getting the European way. So,
is that German?
awareness is as important as action.
Do 3.
I have a question. At the beginning of last century, 20% of the population lived in the city. Now, 50% of the population, in the worldwide population, live in the city. I have the feeling that the people who live in the city, well, in India, in Europe, in USA, in South Africa, America, they are disconnected with the nature. You know, it's like a concept, nature, because they are living in the city, you know.
You are right. And this, yeah, yes. And generally it's the farmers who have an understanding of what's going on in nature because they're living it, that's their job. And people who live in a city don't really realize what's going on outside their city because you don't necessarily need to go out. Everything's in the city that you need. All they care about is making sure they got their mocha latte from Starbucks or whatever. They don't care what the farmers are doing. They don't care what's happening to the environment necessarily. Huh. And didn't think about that until he said that. That's yeah, he ain't wrong. That entitlement process actually too.
And the relation between the nature is I don't know, not spiritual, but it's like TV, you know. You understand, TV show. What's your feeling about that?
Definitely it's true. At the same time, on an intellectual level, probably people living in the cities are far more aware of the ecological concerns than people living in the village. In the village, they're connected to the land in a certain way. But you talk to him about ecology, he has no clue what it is. It doesn't matter for him, chopping a tree means I'm making agriculture happen. So, it is a kind of a two-way thing. In the cities, because of the media, because of the internet, people are aware of it intellectually.
Information.
They may not know what is a tree, but they know we need a tree.
Okay, good point, Sadhguru. But then, not necessarily so, because again, well, maybe I'm just speaking about Americans in general. Probably people who pay attention to internet and stuff. Sometimes they just pay attention to the Kardashians or whatever social media things they follow. There are some people who live in a city that would probably be aware of that, honestly. But I have a feeling the majority probably don't. And the farmers, again, they have internet and also are aware of what's going on with their crops, because when they grow them or when they chop down trees, you notice like maybe something's different about the tree, something's different about the crop, something's different about the grass if they're raising cattle or whatever. The people who farm will notice whenever they start noticing things are not coming back the way they're supposed to. Climate change kind of deal.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah? Microphone. Can we give him a microphone? That we are trying to do as much as possible, even in an ashram, where generally people are aware of, and generally constantly it is being worked at. Even here, it is not very rare, it is not too seldom, fortunately, but it's not very rare to see at 8 o'clock in the morning still one light bulb is burning somewhere, okay? It is not happening every day. I'm too stringent on these things. I'm too cruelly stringent on this, probably. But it is not very rare. If I walk around at 8 in the morning, at least once a month I will see a couple of bulbs burning somewhere. Maybe people think it's nothing, but it still bothers me because in the ashram if it happens, you can imagine what happens in the rest of the world. So, we can bring technologies. Anyway, at 6 o'clock in the morning, naturally it goes off everywhere. We're trying to do that to certain areas. So the problem is, it's not that they don't care, it's they have so many other concerns. They're meditating in the morning between 5:30 and 8. Their eyes are closed, they don't know whether the lights are on or off. So let's give them the margin, let's have a technology which switches off all the lights at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, I'm saying technology is both a solution and a disastrous monster which eats up ecology. But at the same time, it's a solution if the right kind of people handle it. But the right kind of people, where do you get them?
So technology is like a tool, it can be used for good or for bad. But then again, I guess it has to consume.
You don't get them anywhere, you have to produce them. If you have to produce the right kind of people, how do you do? Education is definitely the most important thing, but till then, we need laws. We need laws which will craft people to act in the right way. If there was no law as to which side of the road you must drive, you would be driving all over. Well, even now you are, that's different. That's because of the… we are very liberation-oriented in this country. I'm saying if there was no law, nobody would be able to move, isn't it? Only because laws are strict, if you go this way, immediately you can be stopped. Because of that, nobody is going on the opposite side as much as possible. If there were no laws, everybody would be going everywhere, that means nobody would go anywhere.
Going back to what I said, we gotta be careful, we can't just put so many laws that the government becomes a dictatorship, but obviously we kind of have so little laws that it's almost anarchy.
So that is what is happening with ecology. Because it's a new concern. Our concern for ecology is recent. Because of that, we think a law is impossible. No, a law is possible. It is just that it's a recent concern. So we think it is… how can we say this? We can say it. We can say, this is how you must conduct your river, this is how much you must come… Even if you have a tree in your house, this is how you must conduct it. Now, for laws can be made, but implementation, once again, there's a whole series of problems. If you create too many of these laws, there is a whole lot of people who are supposed to implement the law. Who will profit from that? In the implementation of the law, so many people want to make profit out of that, it breeds a whole lot of corruption. It is not a simple situation.
Yes.
It is not a simple situation. But the quickest solution will come only if we reduce our population. It seems by 2050 in Japan, their population would have come down by 30%. They are concerned about that. I said, don't worry, we will send Indians.
And yeah, that is another weird thing, is the sheer fact that like I want to go visit Japan, just to explore the culture over there, and I do worry that like they are literally selling more adult diapers than baby diapers, and they're having to import people to work over there. I don't want to ever lose anyone's culture, because it would be nice to be able to experience people different cultures. But yeah, I mean, if that's the way they want to go, that's the way they want to go. Right? I'm not gonna force them. They're not gonna put a law in there to say have more babies. That'd be weird.
But they don't look Japanese. That's the whole problem. So population is definitely the serious problem, the single most important problem. Nations must have the courage, religions of the world must have the sense to see that increasing the population for whatever their reasons are, increasing the population is going to be a disaster for all of us, for every creature on the planet, not just for humanity. Please.
Pardon me for being cynical, but I think one of the impediments to progress is the answer to a question which I would like to call YFM, what is in it for me? Unless this question, what is in it for me, is answered, I as a neurosurgeon, as a doctor, I have been trying my best over the last 11 years to get the medical profession to spend a few hours of their time to give gratis, to give their medical expertise. But at the end of the day, it is not Wi-Fi which is an impediment, it is not WiMAX which is an impediment, it is YFM. What is in it for me? Could you enlighten us on that?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If the planet dies and we all die, there'll be plenty of bugs in you. And everyone. So I guess that would be my answer. Is the fact that if we don't start making the changes now, there will be no need for anything because everyone will be gone and dead. There won't be any electricity to do your surgery or whatever it is. There won't be anything for anything. We're going to go back to our primitive state and survival, and that is it. And then healthcare and electricity is all bygone era stuff.
Yes. That is the first thing I considered when we launched the Green Hands project. The first thing we considered is just this. I think like you. What is in it? Not for me, for the people who participate. What's in it for them?
No, okay, maybe I was thinking wrong thing there.
Because as it is, the lives of people, 70% of the population in this country is living quite an impoverished life. And on top of it, asking him to save the world is too much to ask. So, when we looked at it, because still we didn't have government pitching in to do something, we started it as a people's movement. I told the farmers, 10% of your land, you must plant trees. They took it up enthusiastically. Most of the Green Hands trees are still up on the private land. But I think it's cruel to ask them to save the world when they can't even save themselves properly. So
that's why talking about about the poor. I mean, you can't expect the poor to make all these changes to pay a little bit more because they can't afford it. And even myself, I mean, I can only help myself. I can't help other people. I make changes in my life not because I need to be eco-friendly, but because it's economical, and it just so happens to be eco-friendly too, which is I guess a win-win situation right there. I save money and I'm eco-friendly.
One of the simple solutions is just this. If more food comes out of the tree, if more commerce happens out of what comes out of trees, which can easily be done. There's a whole lot of research work, there's a whole lot of data, there's a whole lot of technology available that we can run the economy of a state just by growing trees in so many ways. It is just that first 10 years is going to be a challenge. So we have to go step by step. But if more food comes out of the tree than from plowed land, which can easily be done, farmer will take to it the moment you show him it's profitable. Right now, there are some farmers who have seen that forestry is more profitable than doing agriculture in certain lands. They've taken to it and they're very happy. They're very happy, they're earning much more and they're saving the planet. The satisfaction of doing something worthwhile is there. So that, without addressing that aspect, in every aspect, it is already been looked at. On every level, these things have been looked at. Right now, they're doing business, what's in it for them, they know, but it's benefiting. So like this, many businesses can be created, various things can come out of plant life. In fact, there was a time when humanity lived upon plant life totally. 100% of our lives was like that. We have altered our lives to a different mode. A little bit of curbing that or changing that is very much needed, there's no question about that. But definitely, we can make tree growing into a very profitable business. We can do it in so many ways. We can do it just by growing fruit trees, we can do it by growing forestries, we can do it by doing all kinds of eco-oriented tourism. Tourism is a big thing. If you have 5 acres of land and you forested it, within this forest, there are so many things you can do. You can do bee cultivation, you can do bird breeding, you can do animal breeding, everything, and you build 10 cottages. Even if it is in 10 cottages, even if people stay there for 50 days in a year, the farmer will make much more money than he would have ever imagined. Only thing is, all these things need reorientation, training, education for him to know how to conduct it. We can offer our culture and our cultural fair and also the food fair, the local food, everything, it'll become a unique thing for people to come and experience the village and the local forest. Going and living in the forest is not possible, there are dangers there. Every day there are elephants and stuff, but you can create a artificial forest and run this. That's not the only thing, I'm just saying as an idea. There are so many things we can do, but all these things can take off only if there is a law and there is financing. If there is finance…
I think that's being the bigger part, more than necessarily a law, but the financing for it. Because I'm sure a lot of businesses will go green if the government will pay. Hey, look, government here saying that if you go green, the government will pay you money. As a matter of fact, they'll compensate you for going green. I have a feeling businesses will switch, like, hey, yeah, how much are you willing to pay us? Well, just give us the bill and we'll pay it all. Then they'll go to top of the line, and you betcha. But if they say, hey, the government will pay you $50 million if you just go green, here's the requirements. Okay, so we can meet that requirements with bare minimum effort, bare minimum pay out of our pockets, and we can make a profit by going green. We'll pay $2 million for this, and government will give us $5 million. We'll do $2 million. So I had to be careful with that one. But yeah, I mean, incentive financing is a very big portion. Again, a business is a business. It's there to make a profit. So if it can make a profit by going green, if the government's going to finance that, now mind you, got to be careful. You say, hey, give us the bill and we'll pay off the bill. Yeah, the business is going to go green. And we'll just leave it at that.
And there is law. These two things happen, this moment can happen, but whatever happens, we have to reduce the population. Without keeping that as a vision, we cannot find a solution.
Perhaps time for one more question, the last question.
Sadhguru, for every action to happen…
I'm sorry? Here, microphone. No, only if you hold it to your mouth it works.
Thank you. For every action to happen, first there is intellectual understanding or awareness. But there is also need to have a sense of urgency to accomplish it. I'm addressing this question in a larger context, not just planting trees.
I'm not able to understand the question. It's… Hold it closer, yes.
Okay, right, it's fine.
Have you seen Lady Gaga?
Okay, fine. So I repeat my question. It's like, for every action to happen, there is first need to have an intellectual understanding, and there is a sense of urgency. So I'm addressing this question from a larger context, not just planting trees. How to have a persistent sense of urgency?
Now, the planting trees thing came up essentially because we wanted to save the soil of Tamil Nadu. We were not thinking of saving the world, because the soil is getting destroyed so rapidly. Once you destroy the soil, it doesn't matter what you do, what your intentions may be, you're willing to put the whole economy of the nation into planting trees, it's not going to work. So saving the soil was our most important concern, that's why we went to the farmers and told them to bring in a certain amount of trees into their farm. About once spreading awareness and identity is not an issue, because in this country, particularly in this culture, there is a very strong identification with the land. Still 70% of the population is in agricultural activity. And even those people who are in the city, they spend still at least, I would say, 10% or 15% of the urban population in the country still goes back to their village roots, at least for a short period of time in a year. So they still have that agro connection. Probably in larger… I mean, in other countries in the world, most of them will never go back to the village. But here they still go back because their relatives are in the village, half the family is in the village, so they have that identity with the land. We have to exploit that identity now. We have to make that identity grow in them, that your identification fundamentally is with the land. Because what you call as myself, this very body is a piece of this planet. So this is the identification which we brought about with Project Green Hands. When I this one thing just fired up millions of people, when I told them, see, what you exhale is the tree's inhalation. What the trees exhale is your inhalation. What does that mean? That means half your lungs is hanging out there. It's not a tree, it's one part of your lung. When they saw something so simple, yes, it's true, I cannot breathe with these lungs unless that lung is breathing. So that is my extended lung. So protecting that becomes natural. So this identification is already there, we have to enhance it and strengthen it, particularly in the younger generation who are going to be active in the next 25 years. We have to strengthen this identification. People are identified with their caste, creed, religion, nationality, all this is fine. But the most fundamental identity is you are a piece of this planet. Your very body that you carry is a piece of this planet, and half your lungs is hanging out there on the tree. I want you to feel it. Not just think it's a great idea. It's not an idea, it is a reality that we're living, isn't it? This reality has to sink into people. You don't have to talk about identifying themselves with the tree. If you sit in front of a tree or under a tree and breathe, consciously you know there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Sitting in the building and breathing, sitting under a tree and breathing, there is a big difference, one can feel it. I want people to feel it. But there are not enough trees for all of us to sit under. We need to plant them. Thank you very much. And I would like to specially acknowledge Jack Ivaroshe, 50 million trees in the next trees. And how many megawatts of power is Suzlon doing?
7,000
Okay.
megawatts per year.
So, her company is doing 7,000 megawatts of power from just
Now if only they could collect from the other end, it'd be 14,000.
So, I want you to see them not as people, I want you to see them as solutions for the future. They are the solutions for the future. What we need to do is, right now there are just two sitting here, we need to do multiplication, we need to increase their numbers. We need to increase their numbers means they must be recognized. People should know that people are making this contribution. I wanted to talk about it. A Frenchman is coming to Tamil Nadu and planting 15 million trees in Tamil Nadu. I want you to talk about it. Yes. It's very important that we constantly talk about solutions, not talk about problems and feel depressed and defeated. You must talk about it. 15 million trees a Frenchman is planting in Tamil Nadu. Another company is doing 7,000 megawatts of power just with wind, and they want to do many other things. And they have plans, it's a business that will grow. But the important thing is that everybody talks about it, that everybody doesn't throw up their hands. Everybody says, yes, there's a solution, people are working for it, what can I do? What can I do will naturally come when you see people who create solutions are recognized in the world. Definitely more people will look for solutions. That's what we need to do. Thank you very much.
We have one very quick announcement. We'd first like to thank our online audience. We've had an online audience that's been listening in as well. We'd like to thank all of you for being here, but a very special word of thanks to Suzlon, which has very generously contributed the crane, which was vital in the creation of the Adiyogi Alayam. And the next Conversation with the Mystic session is on the 26th of March in Mumbai. It's a session with K.V. Kamath, chairman of ICICI and Infosys. And for more information, you can find that on www.inconversations.com. Thank you.
Lights off. Yes, lights off. Please.
Okay. Thank you, online audience. Looked like they had a double on that one. So, yeah, I mean, again, I hope everyone... The thing, like, kind of gets me a little bit, and some people, I don't know how many people, it's the fact that they, you know, they complain that they don't make enough money. They have a terrible spending habit. That tends to be the case, I believe. And also just... For me, what I do to go green wasn't necessarily because I was wanting to go green. I wouldn't mind, but it was more of a economic solution for me because, again, I'm not rich by any means, and and I am just trying to find ways to save money because I need to save money. and again, like, getting this car is one way of me thinking of saving money. I hope it does. I hope it doesn't backfire. It's basically how am I saving money with it? Well, for one, you know, I'm essentially getting 100% of my money back from a vehicle that I purchased 7 years ago, which is fantastic. It's actually in worse shape because of some weather events. But hopefully, if I get 100% of my money back from that car and has more mileage, more usage, 7 years old, and still get 100% of my money back, that's fantastic. Plus there's government incentives for the vehicle that I'm getting. It's a pure EV, maybe, or at least a plug-in hybrid, or maybe a hybrid, depending on the cost. Especially with the shortage in the world, the car prices for new has went up a little bit, but the old went up quite a bit because of the shortage. So that's why I'm taking advantage of that. And hoping, because of this new vehicle being a plug-in hybrid or an EV, that if I get an EV, I completely eliminate the oil changes I have to get every year. I completely eliminate like a lot of mechanical things that I would normally have to do on a regular gas vehicle. And then gas itself, the electric to charge it, is actually going to be a lot cheaper, I think, for the most part. So in terms of all of that, I'm hoping to save a lot more money over the period of me owning that vehicle. Things that are disposable, I try to find a way to make it not disposable. That's weird. Find an alternate thing to make it where I make it reusable as opposed to disposable. So that way, again, I may pay a little bit more for the item, but I end up saving over a longer period of time. So again, just things that I do to not necessarily go green, but it just so happens to go green, but it's a way to save me money in the long run. Anyways, that's the final part for this. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.